So how would you approach digital transformation for businesses then? Like what steps should they take? What strategies should they look at to say, well, we need to be different. We need to disrupt, or, we will be disrupted. But what kind of guidelines do you provide to say, hey, this is how we should actually look at this problem, this challenge in the business?
Yeah, well, first of all, it is identifying clearly what is the problem and or the opportunity that we're trying to address. So is it, better customer service? Is it better employee, morale? Is it how we're going into a new market more effectively? What is it? What is the actual, thing that we're trying to achieve? And then where does digital fit in to really serve as a vehicle through which our inherent strengths as an organization are then brought to life? How does technology facilitate our true strengths and actually then create value in the process at every step of the way?
So I have a question. Should we be focused then on the technology, or kind of what's behind the technology?
I think it's first being very, very clear about who you are, what you stand for, making sure that you're very clear about what systems you're already using, again, that can be leveraged or that are outdated and need to be just kind of done away with. But I think it really is looking at, okay, what do we need to do? And is technology the best way to do that? At what point does there have to be a human layer to this? At which point is technology helping those humans do their jobs better? Yeah. So I think it's a combination, but I think it's first, really thinking through the whole, ecosystem, if you will, and the whole supply chain or the whole operational piece. Yeah. This is, from start to finish, this is how this product, service, idea, or whatever value proposition is brought to life, and then where are the touch points, either internally or externally, where technology is going to actually, amp up the impact that we're being able to make.
Okay, so it's not necessarily finding a new technology to embrace. It's still, if I understood you correctly, it's understanding how you can implement that technology across your audience. Is that kind of what you mean?
I think that in most cases, for a lot of organizations, they have very solid platforms and solid ways of working. And I think it's about looking at how are they operating overall that needs to be transformed, and then where technology comes into that. In other aspects, so one of the projects that I worked on a few years ago was a project called Modern Aging. And it was facilitated by a group called Access Health International and the National University of Singapore. Mm-hmm. And it was actually an accelerator and an incubator giving seed funding and promoting the new ideas of startups that had beautiful ways of using digital technologies to improve the ways that people, as they got older, could be living more robust lives. So there's an example where you're then coming to the table and saying, okay, this is the technology and here's what it enables, and it's something brand new that is by design transformational. What I was talking about was maybe more of a traditional or a classic or even a startup that's been around for a few years and they realize something needs to kind of change, and really being clear first about what is that change, what is that change going to get us, and then where does technology factor in.
Yeah, but you don't need to be a startup to create transformation.
No, I'm actually more passionate about, these days. Yeah. I love the idea of, some of the classic, brands, some of the huge multinationals even, who can, really elegantly transform, have a lot of impact in the world just by their scope and their reach. And so how do they do an even better job of, number one, staying in the game and, empowering their employees around the world through technology, as well as, empowering, the end people in the market.
Right. And it would seem to me that that's sort of a huge driving force in this, is sort of that people side of it, connecting with that audience, understanding their behaviors and their needs. Is there something specific that you look for in sort of drawing that conclusion or drawing that connection rather?
Yeah, it really is having those upfront conversations and really doing some deep listening. People will actually just tell you, looking for patterns in the conversations where, if you've got an organization or even a customer base, I do a lot of work with organizations kind of doing transformation from the inside out. And what I find is if they're very clear about their culture and their purpose, that naturally the people that are on the teams will kind of start using the same words, the same, they have a certain kind of jargon, they have a certain kind of energy that they actually live every day. And I think that that's kind of a place where if you're listening, they'll tell you kind of the answer of where their strengths are, as well as you start to hear, okay, this group is having this challenge, this group is having this challenge, and you start to be able to connect the dots. I think what a lot of organizations are missing out on is, for instance, in a place like Australia, there's a lot of very innovative stuff that happens that maybe doesn't get a lot of attention, for instance, because they're far away from headquarters. And it might not be the biggest revenue generating country, but it's definitely a very robust platform and place where new ideas are coming to the forefront.
Right.
So a lot of organizations are just not kind of checking in with what their counterparts in the rest of the world are doing to learn from each other and co-create transformation from the inside out.
Okay.
And by design, then understand the customers on a global basis as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And with that in mind, like who should be leading digital transformation then? Is it the CEO? Is it a specific person, or is it that culture that kind of helps that?
I think it comes from the top down usually. And I think, again, I'm still wary of looking just in terms of digital transformation because that's being interpreted in some very literal ways, where it has to all be about digital. I think sometimes, you still have to have that human touch, and, transforming that human touch and that human element of your business can be just as impactful as the digital side. So I think that, there are now you're seeing more heads of transformation, and they should have a seat at the C-suite for sure. But if the culture from the CEO on down isn't really ready for the change, that can be a derailer right there. So it has to be, you can talk about a transformational culture and the transformation mindset, but if at the end of the day the people that are writing the checks and making the decisions aren't on board, it can be a failure.
So how does somebody like the chief digital officer, for example, do they help in the navigation of transformation, or is that sort of a non-position right now in your mind?
No, I think it depends on the organization. I think they definitely should have a seat in that conversation as well. I think my point was like the mentality and the mindset has to come from the top.
Right.
I think then, what you call those roles, you can have someone who's in charge of digital, you can have someone that's in charge of, something else. But I think that, if as long as that they're then, again, empowered in the right way and working in a co-creative, collaborative way that is very clearly, kind of defined, where they have their own empowerment to do their specific levers, but they're all having one conversation with each other and thinking holistically across the organization. I think that's when it works best. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a very, very clear point. Thank you so much, Marta. I really appreciate your ideas and your strategies and your insights here. How can we get in touch with you?
Well, you can get in touch with me just at marta@mglobaladvisory.com. And I think that you're going to be helping to share this interview so people can look at my website and there's lots of ways to find me. Excellent.
And we can find you in Sydney or anywhere in APAC, it sounds like, or back in the US.
Have the suitcase, can travel.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. Excellent. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Marta. Thank you, audience, to my audience for watching and listening. And my interview with Marta Grutka, the key advisor of M Global Advisory. If you learned something helpful from this episode, if you do have an outstanding question, please feel to add that question to the post, and please share, like, and question or send your questions or comments. And please connect with myself and our wonderful guest today. Go to breakthrough.digital to start your journey of digital transformation. My name is Doyle Buehler, and I will see you online. Thank you.